Okay guys, so it's the end of the month and it's time to talk about some of the notable micro drones that hit my channel in June of 2018. This was a fairly quiet month, not a whole lot that came through the channel, and I think that's because there's not a whole lot of new models out there, and quite frankly, a lot of the newer models, and I'll talk about this in this video a little bit more in more detail, a lot of the new models here aren't a lot more different than some of the older models that came out from before. There's a few changes, and I'll talk about those as well. But quite frankly, the new stuff is kind of boring. It's not like new and really interesting things are coming out compared to a few months ago or over the past few months. So with that being said, let's go. I'm going to talk about what came through the channel this month, and then I'll talk about what's going to be happening going forward, which I think is going to be interesting. First off, I do want to talk about this guy, the ET115. My favorite brushless outdoor whoop, and I know that a lot of 2S whoops have come through my channel, and finally this one came through, and this one I think is the best of the bunch. Now, of course, if you're looking for an indoor brushless whoop, this is not going to be it. It's too big, it's too fast. But I often got questions about what would be really good for outdoors, especially for beginners, something like a trainer with these little prop guards so you can bump into objects and stuff without having it crash right away. This is definitely one you want to check out, so I'll put a card in the corner to that video. You guys can get more details than that along with the flight demo. But if you're looking for a 2S brushless outdoor whoop, this is the one to get. Okay, so I want to talk about these two 2.5-inch micros that came through my channel. You got the SPCmaker C120, and then you have the SkyStars X120 Bolt. Obviously pretty similar in terms of size and everything here. The frames are a little bit different in terms of the shape and I guess like where the camera is. You see the C120, the camera is a little bit more forward than on the SkyStars, and the main difference between the two is that the C120 here on the left is going to be a 3S micro with the kV of the motor being 5500 kV, and then the one on the right, the SkyStars here, this one has an 1106 4500 kV motor. And so you're going to have to pretty much do a 4S battery on this if you want good performance. Now you could do 3S on this one, but I did fly it on 3S, and I found the performance to be quite lacking. It's almost like flying 2S on something older. It just felt like it didn't have any power. So this is sort of the debate, and I was talking about this earlier, is, manufacturers are coming out with new models. If you look at this one here, the SkyStars, it doesn't look a whole lot different than stuff we've seen before, You got like sort of a true X frame, or maybe some of them are stretched X, maybe a little bit. And you have the camera there, sort of in front of the flight stack. Not a whole lot to write home about. Bottom mounted battery. They're obviously making variations to the motors here by going to a lower kV so you can go to 4S. But I question whether or not going to 4S is really all that worth it. You might get a little bit better flight times depending on the battery. It is carrying out a little bit more weight. I prefer 3S, to be honest. I don't think going to 4S is all that really worth the. I guess in certain cases, if you have no 4S lipos and you want to go to this model here, you have to go and buy a whole bunch of 4S batteries. And if you've been flying 3S on some previous models and you don't have any 4S batteries, that's a fairly decent investment. So I think the one I was using on here, the 550 4S, runs about $15 to $20. You figure you get about 4 of those, that's another $80 on top of the drone cost itself, assuming you don't have any 4S lipos. In which case, I would recommend just sticking with the 3S lipo and just getting something like the C120. Yes, it's kind of similar to previous models. In fact, I took these parts off of the VT110 and just stuffed them in here because the parts are all the same except for the camera. You guys can watch that video and listen to my explanation on the differences. I figured that they fly pretty much the same, minus the camera. The camera image, of course, the FPV image would be a little bit different because the actual C120 RTF is using a Predator V2. So that being said, if you want to stick in the 3S world, you have a lot of 3S batteries. Going something like this is probably going to be better than investing in this sort of setup here and then buying a whole bunch of new batteries. On top of that, I had a camera issue with this one. I had to redo that video because the camera that came with this was no good, and I had to stick a new camera in there. So I've been finding that these cheap cameras that come on these ones from GearBest seem to have a lot of issues in terms of jello from the lens or something else wrong with the camera. Yeah, they're using a generic camera that I don't know where they're getting it from, but I've had about 10 of those and about 3 of them were bad. So the 30% error rate, I guess, is not very good. And if you assume that you have a 30% chance of getting a bad camera, add the cost of another camera, $20 to $30 on top of the cost of the drone. Yeah, this is one that I don't think I would recommend over something like this one here. So this is my thoughts on that. I know that a lot of the reviewers were giving positive marks on this particular model. For me, just based on the reasons I just mentioned, I don't think this one is actually worth getting. Okay, so before we get to this model here, this is a 3-inch model, I want to talk a little bit about this guy here. This is the UR65. I finally got one in. And I know that you guys have watched my review of the Snapper 6, and this one worked out pretty well for me. And I have heard rumors, a lot of stories that the cameras were bad on this one. Mine was good. My camera worked on both of these. So, you know, I think there's some quality control issues out there in terms of the camera, perhaps on this particular model, maybe even on the UR65. However, on the UR65, there's another issue, I guess, rumor or stories going around about quality control issues with this particular model where motors don't work. And in fact, I happened to get one where one of my motors didn't work at all. So this back left motor here is dead on arrival, and so that's why you haven't seen this video yet. I've had this for a couple of weeks. I've been trying to get to work, and I have a dead motor. So I actually contacted Banggood. I actually bought this myself, and just contacted Banggood customer service. I sent them a little video of this motor not spinning up, and they're going to send me a replacement drone back out. So it's going to be a little bit delay on this video. I know that this was a really popular model. A lot of interest in that because I guess people don't like the aluminum frame here and the fact that it might bend on a crash. I suppose if you don't crash a lot, this would be better than this one. If you do crash a lot, then the plastic frame is going to be better. But at the same time, I've seen people break the plastic frame too. So, you know, obviously you can glue that back together, whereas, you know, on the metal frame you have to bend it back. You know, I think it kind of depends on which one you like better or worse in terms of like fixing stuff. But yeah, just because it has a plastic frame doesn't mean it's indestructible. It can break as well. But in any event, this video has been delayed. I'm waiting for the second shipment of this to come up because I have a dead motor on one of these. And I have heard stories from other people that had similar problems with either motors not working or something wrong with the flight controller board. So I think there are also some quality control issues with both of these. So it doesn't mean that one's better than the other. It's just that this is kind of typical. A lot of stuff that comes from Banggood, you're going to have some issues because they pump out so much stuff. They make it very quickly. They don't quality control check anything, and they just send it out. And of course, you know, you're going to get some defective units, and I happen to have one. But if you contact Banggood customer service, send them a video showing them the defect, they will take care of you and send out a new one. I've ordered hundreds of stuff from Banggood, and they've never let me down once. So as long as you give them evidence that something is actually defective, they will take care of you. Okay, so now on to the Tomoquads El Camino. This is my favorite one for this month, and you know, 3-inch micro here with this really unique frame with the dual stack. You have basically 2 stack mounting points for these 20 by 20 stacks, and the reason they have this design for the RunCam Split Mini, which has its own 2-board stack, and this, you know, with this setup here, you can actually have the battery up on top, which is what I like, and you can have HD video. And in this particular case, I have this running off of a Crossfire Nano, so I can do long range with this one. And I've been doing some testing on some 850 Tattoo batteries to see how the flight times are on that one, how long the flights can go. What's interesting is that the 850 Tattoo battery is kind of the same size as the 650 China Hobbyline battery that I've been flying before. So here are the two batteries. The white one here is the China Hobbyline 650, and this is the Tattoo 850. And you can see pretty similar in size. And I think this confirms the fact that the China Hobbyline batteries are underrated. So I think this is actually an 850, just rated to 650 to give it the appearance of higher quality. So what I did is I actually ran another flight with the same setup here. This is basically the same setup that I had on the Ascent 3-inch that basically with the RunCam Split Mini. I just transferred all the parts over to this frame. It's got the same Rotorex 1404 motors, same props and everything. It's approximately the same way. I think this is a little bit heavier, and I just ran a flight on the 850 Tattoo, and I got a pretty similar flight. I think maybe this one might have been a little bit longer. You guys can look back at the other flight and compare it to this one. What I'll do is I'll actually end this video with the flight from this battery on this particular quad on these motors. I just wanted to do a comparison of this battery to the other battery, the China Hobbyline. Obviously it's a different frame, so that might make a little bit of difference, but pretty similar flight times. I think that kind of proves that these batteries are pretty similar in capacity. Anyway, so I'm just going to give you a little preview for what's coming up in the month of July. I will be building out this frame here. This is the iFlight, I think it's called the IH3 frame, kind of similar to the El Camino. And this is also designed for the RunCam Split Mini with two 20x20 stack mounting points. And this one will take the 9mm and 12mm motors. So I'm going to be actually trying out the DYS 1404 4300 kV motors, and then I'll be able to compare sort of a similar setup to this one to the Rotorex 1404 motor here, which is I think at 3600 kV. So we'll see if a higher kV also on 4S. If maybe we get a little bit more efficiency, more flight time. Not sure. This is going to be one of the, obviously, my long-running experiments here on these motor efficiency testing that I've been doing sort of, here and there, sprinkling them throughout the rest of my videos. I know that some of you guys have been following along and been interested in that. That'll be coming up in the month of July. Anyway, go ahead and end this video with the flight from this guy on the Tattoo battery. If you guys have any questions on any of this stuff that showed up for this month, let me know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.